Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Harmony. I am a twin flame expert helping twin flames around the globe face fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Welcome to my weekly Glowcast. Today's topic is home is where the heart is, and have you given your beloved the keys to your heart? It's a really good question because we're seeking unconditional love. We're seeking this connection in the 3D form, but have you really opened the heart up and the heart space up to give the keys to open your heart and to know that we actually templated with our beloveds, saying that we came here in a divine agreement that we chose to teach each other in this lifetime these new earth heart language, these new earth templates of unconditional love, so that we can technically go home together, which is returning into the one heart. And to do that, we must first purify our soul, which is really purifying our heart. And that's what needs to take place within us before we can actually, be purified enough to create the inner peace and happiness that we need in order to come into oneness with our beloved. So that means each beloved technically has to go through that process, the full purification, pure harmony here, in order to return to that status of home. And that being the status of home, being the unconditional love pattern from back in, to the days of Atlantis, when everything was bliss and unconditional love. And we're re-templating that, we're revisiting that, and we've been letting go of everything that's caused pain and suffering and trials and tribulations, and that's created the blocks that's prevented us from knowing and experiencing unconditional love. So today I want to teach you 6 keys that you can use to allow your beloved to unlock the doorway to your heart, and to teach you then also to live in a place of peace and purity, so that you can find the stillness within yourself and become one with yourself, to be able to do that with your beloved. So we talk about, okay, let's talk about home is where the heart is. So what is home, first of all? Okay, home gives us that feeling of security. It gives us a feeling of inner peace. It gives us a feeling of being connected to a place that we can seclude to and let go of all of the stressors that goes on around us. And therefore we're talking about kind of going within with that when I say that. So it's like going within. And to do that, so home is where the heart is. That means that home and heart is really technically built around the concept of divine unconditional love as well, in order for us to operate from that place to experience this divine unconditional love, which is technically selfless love. So, think about this for a second. When we talk about the heart, and the heart being when we talk about going home, or home is where the heart is, and we talk about that being the heart, well, the heart is technically, we refer to it as the heart, and think about why. So the heart is a major organ. The heart is an organ that has to pump in the blood, that carries the blood, the blood comes through with the oxygen in order to carry that all the way throughout every system of our body. And that we need that blood. We need that to survive. So, there's no different than love. Without this love, it's like we can't survive in the same way. Otherwise, let's put it this way, we are surviving rather than thriving, and we're not experiencing the opportunity of our greatest potential to have the kind of passion and experience the kind of love that we came here to experience. So what is unconditional love? It is selfless. It is us learning how to give and receive between the harmonic balance of the universe. The universe has, those laws of harmony that say that unconditional love, or anything really, goes out, it must come back. So we need to learn to give love, and then we want it back, but we're not either open to receive it, or there's expectations built around it, and those expectations set everything up to fail because there's a thought process that if I give, I get, and then that creates resentments when you don't get what it is you're asking for. And therefore, when it comes to the beloved, it's setting them up to fail, that you're asking for something they don't even know how to give you, or you're on a different love language and they don't even, love channel, and they don't even know what you're asking for, even though they're trying. So I want to, as I've mentioned, help you learn these 6 keys, to give them the key to unlock your door to your heart. And those 6 keys are learning how to love unconditionally. And second one is creating a radiant heart. And the third one is to start being able to treat yourself like a first-class citizen. And the fourth one is about being able to speak that new earth heart language and being able to get on those same love channels, basically. And then the sixth one, the fifth one is to learn how to fill your own stuff up from the inside out, not the outside in. And the sixth one is that allow your twin to follow you home. All right, and I'm going to share a little story with that of how I kind of came up with that topic and that thought. And so let's first talk about the first one. So how do we love unconditionally? And I said a couple of them already. One is making sure that you don't set them up to fail and you let go of the expectations. But a really big part of this is letting go of judgment, because expectations are also linked to a lot of judgment. And the judgment, all of these pieces in this point back to you, us, all of us. And it points back to us saying that what we're putting out there, we're getting back. And if we're not getting back what we expected or what we thought, then it's like, what is the message here for us? What is coming back? So if you're not getting back what it is you want, that means somewhere inside of you is not either allowing it, or you're not putting it out there with the intention, matching the same vibration of what you're expecting back. Because I'm going to say that again because it's so important. It's not always what you say. It's not always what you ask for. It's not always what you even do. It's the intention behind it. So if you have an intention that you're putting out there that, I'm only going to show him love if he shows me love, and if he withholds, I'm going to withhold, and you're setting that up as the intention behind you giving with like, I'm going to give, but now I got to get back. Well, guess what? You just set that whole dynamic up to fail, like I said, because it's the intention and the energy behind it. You have to flip your intention behind it being unconditional, meaning behind it, there is no aspect of wanting anything back in return. And releasing the judgment within yourself usually is where that falls into. And it really does link a lot about the concepts of self-worth and being good enough to allow it in. A lot of the divine masculine has self-worth issues, and a lot of the divine feminine have being good enough issues. And being able to see that this love, that it is technically love, because it is all perfect, and that sometimes what we're getting and seeing it as the teacher in it, and it's the lesson in it that we're to get, that until we get it, it's not going to go away. And if we can have preconceived notions of how something should turn out, again, we're setting that up. So if we can let go of the preconceived notion, if we can let go of the judgment, if we can let go of the expectation, if we can let go of the perception that we're not getting and that we're going to withhold if we don't, all of that's going to flip. It's going to open you up. If you can see that the circumstances that you're going through are really just a gift to teach you the lesson that you need, and let it all go except for the lesson. And therefore, you don't have to block your heart with walls rather than, being able to set loving boundaries, because of the pain of this process has created pain, And people build these brick walls around their heart, and they're so guarded and so protected, and they're afraid of getting hurt. And that's where letting go of some of the pain in the past and being able to really do a lot of forgiveness work. And I talk about that a lot. I'm going to say it again. And I don't care if you've done some of that before, do it again and revisit. I've had to revisit these pieces more than once, I can promise you. And they still kind of turn up. It's because when we release this stuff, only certain amounts could come up and out at the time we're ready to release certain amounts. And so revisiting that allows us an opportunity to forgive at a deeper layer, helps us learn to forgive ourselves, and also forgiving ourselves is technically forgiving our beloved. And we also have to forgive our beloved, and we have to do that all the way back to the beginning. I always tell clients that when they come in to trace back all that you can for forgiveness letters and then go even further than that. Ask your guides, ask your angels to direct you to what the pieces are that's blocking you from being open at your heart space and feeling those emotions that you need to feel. Because a lot of times too, people they don't want to feel. So they do creative avoidance to avoid the feeling. But to know that in number 2, we have to feel that. So I'm going to move into number 2 with that, which is creating the radiant heart, that we have to have the dualities for expansion. And that if we want to know love, we have to know hate or sorrow. If we want to know great love, we have to know great hate or sorrow. And that it's the expansion and that creates the duality aspect. And what happens when we do that, we start to open up at the higher conscious level, which expands into the 12 chakra system, which we have our 7 lower chakras, as I mentioned, and then we have 5 that starts with the soul star going up through 12 above our head and above our crown. And those chakras are the templates of twin flames. And that the goal of that, what happens is when we start to release all that lower self and those lower vibrations, and we let go of those lower energies, it moves us into the heart chakra, which activates our high heart, which creates a greater amount of compassion. And as we have the greater amount of compassion, that helps to enlighten us to a higher degree into our expansion of who we are from a standpoint of our higher self, and helps us to connect to our higher self, and helps us connect on a level that, that's deeper than we could connect before. And so we have to experience this expansion. We have to experience duality, and we have to not run from it. We have to embrace those emotions. We can't cut a side out. We have to do that. And doing this creates the radiant heart that allows you to shine, allows your heart to open up, allows it to beam with this exuberant, divine, eternal love, and to feel at a level that you've never felt before in the pure bliss and stream of this divine, unconditional love. And so started here with what our goal is, with the unconditional love. And I started here with, the radiant heart aspect of that. And before I move into some things and ways you can expand this, and that you can, in the next step of the third key, I want to share with you, and I've shared this before, and I want to share it again because it's that powerful. If we want our twin flame, we want to activate the highest self. If we want to give our harmonic giving and getting in harmonic balance of this unconditional love, we really have to really practice the principles of the Bible verses, 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. Now, I've said this and read it before, but it's that powerful again. If this is the kind of relationship we want, we have to learn these principles. So I would highly recommend you make this your daily reading. Just if this is what you're seeking as unconditional love and your beloved, make this your reading daily. Claim unconditional love, claim divine bliss, claim an eternal radiant heart, and do so with ease and grace, and to realize that you can let go of the old stuff, and this is going to help you purify the heart. So I'm going to read this to you. I've read it before again. I'm reading again. So if I speak in tongues of men or angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the mysteries and all the knowledge, and I have a faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all that I possess to the poor, and I give over my body the hardships that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast, and it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in the evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we impart and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of the childhood behind me, for now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see the face to face. Now I know in part, that I shall know fully, even as I fully am known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Now I want to share something with you, a couple points, and this is so powerful. A couple things is when the tongues cease, stillness occurs, meaning we should listen more, and not have to be so outspoken and so direct sometimes. But the key here is it talks about when the man faces the man in the mirror and the child becomes a man. Okay, so we're talking here, these next steps I'm going to talk about has to do with healing the wounded child inside and healing and nurturing that inner child. We all have scars. We have all suffered from, potentially, physical, like child abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, being told no, being instilled with fear, being instilled with belief systems, being programmed, on and on and on. We are wounded children, and we need to be able to heal those inner child within so that we can then learn to treat ourselves like first-class citizens, which is number 3. Start treating yourself like a first-class citizen. Now, before I move into what that means, I want to say something else. So, this is, again, like I said, growing up, letting go of the childhood ways, healing the inner child, but learning to face the man in the mirror and to look at the projection of what's coming back. And instead of looking outside of you and blaming your parents, your circumstances, your twin, everything around you, it's not about what's around you anymore. It's about taking accountability for your own actions, your own life, your own experiences, and stepping up to the plate and say, I'm taking charge now. I don't have to be the victim anymore. I'm the one that can heal this. I might have been through all of this crap and all these experiences, but they've taught me to be who I am. And I can now go forward claiming this unconditional love, creating a radiant heart, and allowing my heart to shine, and I can experience and receive the harmonic balance of my give and my take, and I don't have to carry resentments anymore for all the pain and suffering that I've taken on for not just my own karma, but also for the karma of the world. So let's start treating ourselves like first-class citizens. And to do that is, we're not going to sit at the back of the bus anymore. It's stepping up in empowerment and saying, I can rise. I can rise above. I can be the best version of myself that I can be. My little child inside is whole, complete, loving, and nurture that child. constantly, because we still have, we still need embraced. We still need love. We still need that holding, being held and hugs and being vulnerable to express who we are and not worry about crying out loud, not worry about the fact of like, are we going to get fed or not? That's the inner child doesn't worry about these things. It's the purity of that heart. It's the energy of that little child, just like with my fur child right now, the purity of the heart, which I give him so much credit for because this topic coming through with him being home is where the heart is. I've been working on a petition to bring him home that had to do with, keeping Champ teaching tricks from the heart. And it's time to bring him home where the heart is. And that is what prompted this. And, when I did that and I saw that, and I have a story to share in a minute about that, I just, we need to revert to this purity. That's where I see the purity of the heart. That's going to get us home. That's going to get us our beloved. That's going to get us sitting at the front seat. That's going to be first class. That's going to be going the extra, 50 cents and buying something that we wouldn't have normally bought ourselves. That's going to be treating ourselves like kings and queens. That's going to be allowing ourselves to be open to receive. Back to open to receive. That's the key here. Being open to allow yourself to receive. So we have to heal within this, the not being good enough and the lack of self-worth. So here's some ways for you to do that. So we talk about doing that with self-love, but really what does that mean? It means being gentle with yourself. That's one of the biggest things. Being kind to yourself, listening to yourself. Just like Wednesday, I'd been traveling and I'd been going through a lot and had the eclipse, my own processing. I took off on Wednesday. There's a time in my life that I would have never allowed that. I even messaged a client that I was to connect with and said, I need to take this evening off. I honored me. I was kind to me. I actually been sleeping a lot. And a lot of people I've been talking about has been sleeping a lot. I'm doing better now after getting through Wednesday. But that's some of the backlash of this cleansing and purifying and doing it with ease and grace. It's like, and I'm just going to say this, I feel like I've kind of like ran this marathon. I've arrived home and I've crashed and been like, oh no, and actually not in a way of like exhaustion, like some of the past karmic patterns, but more in a way of enthusiasm and excitement and feeling of bliss and feeling connected and feeling like that no matter what's going on outside of my circumstances, and I as well have things going on with my beloved dog and Champ, and I'm at the most peace that I've even felt, and I could tell you forever, but I've had to take the last 3 weeks to go through another round of this whole cycle, learning how to trust again, learning how to another layer, learning how to, also let go, going back to the big basis and realizing that this is faith and I don't have to fix this, and divine showing me order and that I can get in alignment and everything I need for this journey is peering for me for it. So why do I have to be in control of it? Why can't I just embrace it and enjoy it? And, these to look at it as the lessons that I'm learning right here, to be here to teach you. This is part of my own mission, to be here, to be in alignment, to be your teacher, just like Champ's being my teacher, and to spread and share these sowing these seeds of radiance for the heart and the Christ consciousness. Because technically, when we talk about this in this radiant heart, it is the Christ consciousness. It is raising that love vibration of these signals that say unconditional love, which is also represents the unified field and sends out a literal signal to the universe that is raising the love vibration of the planet. And we're doing this individually, we're doing this collectively, we're doing this with our beloveds, and that's creating the new earth heart language. That is going to be number 4, but I want to finish number 3. So we have to be gentle with ourselves. That's creating the self-compassion. Having compassion for others, we have to have it for ourselves. We have to experience that. We have to experience self-acceptance. And to do some of these things is really learning how to step up to the plate and be honest with yourself and be honest with others, and stop justifying and reasoning why you do what you do and why you need to do what you do, because you don't owe anybody an explanation. You're the one that looks at the man in the mirror. You're the one that goes to sleep at night and has to like know, did you do right by today? And can you rest at night? And if you can do those two things, look at yourself in the mirror and feel at peace, and you can sleep at night and feel at peace, you're getting in alignment with your own soul. But just make sure you're not justifying and rationalizing why you're doing what you're doing, instead of facing the man in the mirror and running from your fears and creating justification so you can hide from what it is that you need to face. Okay? That's another piece of that, and especially healing this child, is letting go of those needs or those feelings of rejection, so that when, not taking things personal, when, you're not getting what you expect. So that so much back to that expectation, what you're setting up and what you perceive to be what you want, and it's not coming, and then analyzing that and going into a fear mode and getting angry and creating a snowball out of an avalanche, and then justifying and setting up and, creating this aspect of not setting a loving boundary, and to feel rejected from this and then create resentments from it. Again, that goes back to the intention of what you're putting out. Don't withhold. Stop withholding. Stop expecting and stop withholding. That's going to help teach you self-compassion. Open up, allow yourself to have these things. Let go of the idea that you can't, and that you're not deserving of these things, and embrace the pain that you experience in the circumstance, so that you can now see the gift in it. So that by seeing the gift in it is going to open you up to shift to a whole new vibration, and a whole new level, and a whole new space and place to experience becoming the first-class citizen that you are. You are first class. Start treating yourself like that. I want you to, as an assignment, this is just coming through, I want you to start kind of, not analysis, and especially not to analysis of paralysis, but I want you to monitor your thoughts, feelings, and actions every time you go to either make a purchase, and I'm not talking about getting haywire here. I'm talking about something maybe that's been on your list that you just wouldn't allow, or you would buy something instead of because you don't want to spend an extra few dollars. Okay? Allow yourself to have these things. Allow yourself to be open to receive. And the next time you start monitoring, the next time you start feeling yourself kind of deny yourself, take a step back and flip that and imagine what it would feel like if you could have it, and if you did have it. And then stop seeing as if it's outside of you, and start seeing yourself with the opportunity of getting it, including the finances, because money is nothing more than energy, including the money, because what we say is so important. Stop saying I'm broke. Stop saying words like I have no money. Stop saying that I can't afford it. Stop saying what you speak is so powerful over you in your life. Step outside of those things. See them as gifts. See them as teachers. And let go of everything but the lesson. Okay? Okay. So number 4 is learning how to sense out of these things, speak the new earth heart language. And that means when I work with people all the time, twins, relationships, teaching people that the ultimate relationship, if they want it, starts with them. But I see this all the time with people speaking on 2 different love languages or 2 different love channels. And typically, the divine feminine is asking for what she wants, and she's hurt, and she's feeling rejected, and she's feeling abandoned, and she doesn't feel like she wants to go home, and she's tired of being disrespected, and she's done this over and over and over, and she's finally stepping up and saying, I don't want to do this anymore, but it comes out like, a barrel out of a cannon. And because instead of waiting till it builds up to the point where it explodes kind of thing, and then when it comes out, it's coming out all at once, and there's nothing. If that's how it happens, just get it out, and then don't self-sabotage and don't blame yourself for allowing it to happen. But technically, divine feminine is asking for something that the divine masculine has not known how to get, and operating on these different channels. So she's asking because she's in pain, she's suffering, she's tired of the abandonment, and she wants something that the divine masculine has been emotionally emasculated, he's emotionally immature, and he doesn't hear the same, and there's the communication barriers here. He doesn't hear what she's asking for, and so in his own way, he's giving and giving and giving, but it's not good enough because she's had so many expectations on her. She's had so many expectations she's put on herself, created this I'm not good enough, and now she's putting out a signal, says I'm not good enough, and she'll want and he'll give, and it's not good enough, and he'll feel like it's not good enough. And then for him, you know, with these emotionally emasculated, not feeling, then he feels not worthy of this either, because he's not good enough either. So therefore he must not be worthy if he's not good enough. So we got to get these things in balance and let go of this lack of self-worth and this lack of being good enough to move into the same love language and speak the same words. And it's done through effective communication too, because you have to learn to speak your voice. Now, there's a difference in here, and you know, sometimes it's feeling like it's been bottled up for all this time that you haven't been able to speak your truth, and it comes out like, again, the cannon or the volcano. But to realize that when you do this, to try to not let it build up, first of all, and maybe it has up to this point, but to try to release it and not make the other person responsible for what's inside. And that leads us to number 5, which is being able to fill yourself up with yourself from the inside out, not the outside in. So technically what we're saying here in the first scenario, back to that, is you're filling, the divine feminine's filling up with the divine masculine from the outside in. He can feel it, he pulls back, he says, that's a contract, I'm not going to allow you to go into that codependency, so therefore you're not going to use me. And people can feel this, they can know, they can feel the rejection, they can feel the pain, they can feel the hurt, they can feel all this. And then on the flip side of that, you know, they take it personal. It's all felt. This is a language that doesn't have to be spoken. So to fill yourself up with yourself is 2 big ones, to start having self-respect and creating the self-worth. And I say that because these are the 2 big ones that I see. So in the self-respect, I want to tell you, if you're not feeling respected, it's because you're not setting the boundary and enforcing it. And ultimately, you're not respecting yourself in that aspect, because you're giving yourself away and then you're being resentful after you do. But it was only you that could do it, you that did it, and only you can stop it, and only you can forgive yourself for doing it, and can't blame the other person because you did it after you did it. So this is where you say, look in the mirror, use your twin, use your beloved, use them as your mirror. What you see in them is what you need to look at within yourself, every bit of it. So if you don't see that they're respecting you, look in the mirror and say, why am I not respecting myself? And start to create events that you will do for yourself to set yourself up with like a divine appointment with yourself, meditation, healing yourself, filling yourself up like you would a bank account. And then don't let yourself down so that you can't create the sabotage, because so many times people start a path of that and then they don't do it, and then it sets up for the cycle of self-sabotage. And honor your word to you. If you want others to honor their word to you, you need to honor your word to yourself, because what you get back is a perception of you, all of it. Twin or not, everything that comes your way is always a reflection of what is coming from the inside out, reflecting back, and or becoming a teacher back, and or every experience that you need to learn at that given moment. And it's embracing and facing that fear rather than running from it. So keep your promises to yourself, change your thoughts, let go of the concept of this rejection, let go of the expectation that only creates resentments. And over time, you will start to nurture that inner child, and you will start to feel worthy. When you feel the deepest peace inside yourself and you create the personal empowerment by taking your power back inside, that's when you start to feel worthy. That's when you start to feel good enough. That's when you start to feel like no matter what's going on outside of you, it doesn't matter, because inside you are at inner peace and happiness, and nobody can rob you of that. Nobody can pull you down in energetic vibration unless they're given permission. They can't. They just can't. And if it's happening, then you might need to experience a step up to be able to set the loving boundary, rather than building that brick wall and learning how to let down the wall and rebuild boundaries. And there's knowing the difference, for sure. Now, number 6, I want to talk about letting your twin follow you home, or your beloved. So I'm going to go into this with a story that I feel like is a direct reflection to this whole concept. I was out of town, and I came home, and I was greeted by a stray dog coming out of the bushes. And this was like 1:30 in the morning, and this was just coming back from the eclipse on Monday night, 1:30 in the morning. And when I immediately knew, like, because my dog coming home, I knew it was a representation of that. I also knew that it was like I've been shown a lot of pieces of my journey and experiences I've experienced, and especially through the eclipse, and bringing into the formation the masculine, the divine masculine, into 3D form. I'm having this happen in other experiences. It's way too, I'm sure there'll be something come out later, but I'm literally crossing paths with the divine masculines, getting their feedback, picking their brain, helping them connect with their divine feminines. And it's crossing paths out of nowhere. So I know that that's crossing my path to not only help them, but them to teach me, because that's the harmonic balance, so that I can also come to teach you. But this dog is also teaching me the same thing, as is my dog. So I thought, okay, I'm going to call the owners, and I get my phone out and go to look, and there's no name on the tag. So then, like, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to fix this dog. I'm going to heal this dog. I'm going to make sure this dog's safe. And I wanted to really get back because of my dog, and felt like, oh my gosh, this dog's come home. I can't leave this dog out here. It's raining. The dog had mud from head to toe, a white dog, muddy everywhere. He was an elderly dog. He was walking a little bit kind of odd. And then also, like, you could tell he had arthritis, maybe some congestive heart failure. He felt like his breathing was really labored. And I just like, oh my gosh. So I go to call like an animal shelter. I looked, there was none open at that time in the morning. So I'm texting the friend of mine that wanted to know I made it home, and sent her pictures and saying, oh my gosh, look what I was greeted by this dog when I got home. And we're like going, oh my gosh. So then I go to call the police department to see if somebody can meet me to pick up this dog. And the dog starts taking off at this point. And I'm trying to kind of hold him back, and he's not mean at all. He's not aggressive at all. But it was like restraining him to keep him from going off, and I couldn't. He's almost like probably was at least 100 pounds, and he was just on a mission, and there was no way I was going to stop him. So I'm on the phone with the police department, waiting to get connected to see if I can find, connections here. And I'm walking down the street and get pretty far down the street, and I'm texting my friend, and all of a sudden I look up, and the dog was totally vanished, totally gone. And I'm like, where did the dog go? Like, and his labor breathing disappeared. Everything. I'm even texting her like there's the ghost dog. Like this ghost dog is showing up here like a ghost, because he just disappeared and vanished into thin air. And it got so silent. And she reminded me, like, you can't fix the situation. And I'm like, thank you for this reminder, because it's a twin flame dynamic. I was trying to be the fixer. I was trying to make sure he was safe. I was trying to make sure he got what he needed. I was trying to get him to safety. I'm, bound and determined. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to fix this situation. And, she reminded me that this is like, you can't do this. And I realized I had to surrender. And I realized it was just like the twin flame journey of letting go and knowing to go into trust and faith that this was going to work out. The dog really technically has his own journey here, and that the dog has his own, animals have their own lessons, and to be like, okay, I have to surrender this. This is 1:30 in the morning, probably going on 2 by now. And so I turn around and I start walking home. And out of nowhere, the dog comes back and starts following me home. and got so close to me. At this point, I'm doing my normal walk, and the dog's walking pretty fast and catches up to me. Dog's walking side by side, and I would stop and text her. I'm like, oh my gosh, the dog's next to me. I can't believe this. Now I turned around, he's coming. I let go, I surrendered, and he's coming home with me now. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is totally the divine masculine happening in 3D form right now. And so I stopped, and if he barely got in front of me, he'd stop now. So I gave up. I literally energetically gave up, and now the dog's following me home. And if I stopped, the dog would stop. He walked side by side with me home. And then I'm like, okay. And then so here I say, text her, okay, I'm going to go home and get the dog water and food. I'm going to feed it water. I'm going to go get a leash, and I'm going to wrap him up around the post out there. She's like, no. Feed and water the dog, but don't tie the dog up to the post. Like, let this be freedom. Don't have control over it. I'm like, oh, yes, thank you. So I get the dog water and food, and he eats and he waters and he lays down, and you can tell he's home. In fact, when I go in, the dog wants to go in the door with me to go home. Like, the dog's home. This is our divine masculine, people. This is a representation. Get your heart in the right order. Get your heart purified. Get these keys in order and give them to your beloved so they can unlock your heart for your beloved to follow you home and stop following your beloved home. This is the time we're in now. The beloveds are coming home. Let them come home. Don't tie them to a post, and don't drag them down the street to try to make them come home, and surrender the process. That's exactly what I did with this dog. And I trusted and surrendered, and I let go. And it gave me a great analogy that I was to teach you. And so, with that being said, I just want to say that, my beloved Champ, he has some things that he came through. I'm always channeling him. And because this is in honor of him, really, of his coming home and how representing the divine masculine. I've also been shown that he does represent the divine masculine. I've been connected with a beautiful, beautiful soul from Netherlands. She has contacted me. She's been healing Champ. I mentioned this, but she has a machine that she programs, and she programmed it with the diamond light that Tatiana Hassen gave us in order to be able to bring the diamond light codes into physical form, and that I'm using for healing. And also, her name is Mirella. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but Mirella Albers, and she's from the Netherlands, and she has a machine she coded in all the diamond light codes into, and she's sending Champ healing every day. And this is just such a blessing. This is unconditional love. This is like being open to receive. This is the things you need for your journey to show up, and I couldn't be more blessed. I couldn't feel more, my cup runneth over. And people are just showing up to me in this journey with this. And, even Attorney came out of nowhere saying, I read your story. I totally, and I created a petition, which, by the way, I'm going to put a link to the petition here if you don't mind to sign this petition. It's really just saying, bring Champ home, and there's a story behind it. So feel free to do that as well. If this is beyond that point and it's beyond the time, I'll probably remove the link. But for now, until this is settled, there's going to be a petition. So anyway, Attorney showing up to say, I already had the greatest one, I thought, and then another one comes out of the woodwork and says, I'm inspired by your story. I want to take this case on. Like, I want to do this. I want to represent this. That's another divine masculine showing up in my life right now. Totally. Something, and I've told him, this is the time in my life you're teaching me my greatest lesson, to receive and to ask for help that we all have trouble doing. And I can still have trouble to do that, but this is what, it's teaching me. And so anyway, Mariella, I'm putting a link to her. I'm also going to put a link to Tatiana, has the divine, these divine diamond light codes in scanned into a video that you're welcome to look at them. They're really cool. Also, that divine or diamond light code ceremony that I did, the entire activation with the 33-day free to love plan has a link below. If you've not got plugged into that, powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. another tool to help you bring into form everything and to be able to purify your heart so that you can move into the inner peace and find happiness within you, and that you can bring home all that you came here to experience, not just your beloved, but everything within that. So what I want to leave you with is the lessons of Champ that came through from Champ, that is, according to him, this is how that we should live in peace and purity with our beloveds. Okay? So I'm going to read them to you. So when your twin flame or your beloved comes home, would you run to greet him? Or greet them, I should say. Would you find pleasure in going for a joyride with your beloved? Are you grateful for each new day? Have you buried all your bones? Have you really let go? Do you sniff out your territory and trust the instincts in the process? Are you living in pooch time consciousness, which is living in the present time consciousness and living in the moment of the now? Are you loyal? Are you loyal to this journey? Are you loyal to what you signed up for, to be there, to be help and be home when your beloved comes home, and leave the keys out for your beloved to get through that door? Are you loyal enough to do that? I asked you, and this is coming through as well at this minute, I invite you to ask yourself, are you loyal enough to do that? Think about it, because if you're not, you need to go do some more purification and get open and ready and willing. So how can you expect it if you're not willing to be open to receive that? Do you need to allow yourself naps when needed? Do you know how to listen versus being heard? When needing to express yourself, do you bark out loud? Do you need to be consoled? Or do you find pleasure in just sitting close to another and holding them tight? When you're happy, do you dance around wagging your tail? Do you stick your head out the window just so that you can feel the fresh air? Do you let go of resentments and judgments? And when you are hurt by someone, do you forgive them anyway? That, my friends, is the purest of pure hearts and the Christ consciousness, speaking the unconditional love vibration and language of this planet, of the new templates to go forward. That's why we have a lot to learn from dogs, animals, babies, and our inner child if we just listen. So be sure to like, comment, share the shine. Much love to you, many blessings. May you always face fear, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.